Now at 6 years ago, Otto Zem died after being beaten, tasered, and hogtied inside a North Spokane zip trip. Tonight, the officer accused of using excessive force against him headed to court to learn his fate. More than 4 years in a federal pen as he's led away in handcuffs.
KREM 2 News at 6 starts now.
Good evening and thanks for being with us. I'm Randy Shaw.
And I'm Jane McCarthy. This case started back in 2006 with a 911 call to a North Spokane zip trip.
Former Spokane police officer Carl Thompson used a specially made baton to beat a mentally ill janitor into submission and then tasered him. Zem later died 2 days later.
A jury convicted Thompson more than a year ago, and today he found out he'll serve more than 4 years in prison.
Now, we've had news crews covering all angles of the story. KREM 2's Ashley Corsland has been in the courthouse all day, tweeting it for us. Spoke Thompson's defense attorney.
Honora Swanson is waiting for a reaction from Spokane's new police chief. We start things off with Sean Chitness as detailed in today's room as Thompson was led away in handcuffs. Sean.
Randy and Jane, good evening. Well, it was certainly a long day for all parties involved. We got things started around 9 a.m. when the prosecution decided to make its argument as to why it believed Carl Thompson deserved anywhere between 9 to 11 years. That took us to the middle of the day around noon, where members of Otto Zem's family, as well as some of his friends, decided to speak and address the court to argue or at least support the prosecution's argument. Then after lunch, the defense had its turn, asking for a lesser sentence or no jail time at all, and going through various points as to why they believe that. And then at the end of the defense's presentation, Carl Thompson addressed the court, asked if he could even speak to the family themselves, and he said some of the following statements we want to share with you. One of them was, quote, "I am deeply sorry for this tragic loss," end quote. Another one that he said, "I am and always have been responsible for my actions. I accept responsibility for my actions." And one more we want to share with you, quote, "Mr. Zem will always be a part of me. I've lived with the events of that night continuously." After Mr. Thompson finished up his statements, then it was time for the judge to pass it back to the prosecution. They decided to make a couple more statements refuting what the defense said, and then the judge took a break, almost an hour or so, and then at 4:20 he decided to begin reading what his decision was, and about 40 minutes later he gave the decision that we now know about what will happen to Carl Thompson. Reporting live, Sean Chitness, KREM 2 News.
KREM 2's Ashley Corsland has been inside the federal courthouse all day. She just finished speaking with Carl Thompson's defense attorney.
Ashley joined us now live with what he had to say after the judge's decision on sentencing.
Well, Randy, Jane, as you can imagine, it was a very emotional day for both the Thompson and Zem families. Now, in the end, the judge did sentence Thompson to just over 4 years in federal prison. Now, the government initially requested a sentence of 9 to 11 years for what they consider very severe convictions. The defense, though, in turn asked for a sentence of 2 years or no prison time at all. Now, the prosecution argued today that Thompson intended to cause bodily injury to Zem and that the former police officer not accept responsibility for his actions. The defense, Thompson, responsibility and did not intentionally harm Zem. Now, in the end, the judge did decide that it, in fact, intend to cause harm and that it was what he called a serious assault. Judge Van Sickle then sentenced Thompson to 51 months and denied the defense's request to free Thompson pending an appeal. Thompson's attorney walked out. I was able to catch up with him and ask him if he thought the rift between the community and the police department played a factor at all in the judge's decision.
I think that there's a rift unity with the department, but saying that Carl Thompson's sentence has anything to do with it, in my view, it doesn't. Carl Thompson, as I've said during the sentencing hearing, is someone who has been the figurehead, someone who has been held out for all of the wrongs that have occurred by all kinds of people in this community. And I think it's appropriate to sentence Carl for what Carl did, but not to be held accountable for all kinds of different issues that have occurred. If the community is going to mend its rift, it has to do that within itself. And this.
Now, again, the judge did sentence Thompson into custody immediately pending the hearing today and denied the defense's request to have him released until an appeal. The defense does plan to appeal the conviction. Reporting live in downtown Spokane, Ashley Corsland, KREM 2 News.
Now, fellow Richards was down at the courthouse speaking with witnesses there, and he talked to a teenager who was just a little girl. She was inside the zip trip that night that Otto Zem was beaten and tasered. He joined us now live with more on that story.
We talked to that teenager and her sister, Brittany Brashers and Miranda Brashers. They were inside the zip trip at the time. They were buying milk when Officer Carl Thompson came in there and was running after Otto Zem. They saw what happened. They tell us they are upset at the sentence. This is what they had to say.
He should have got longer. You can't just kill somebody and get 51 months. I mean, do you know anybody that's got away with that? He pretty much got away with it. And if he would have got charged when it first happened, he would have already been out. We've been waiting 6 years for this, and he gets 51 months. It's crazy.
Now, you vividly remember that day.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you remember?
I remember everything. I remember all of it. It's like it happened yesterday.
Your feelings in the sentence?
I agree with Brittany. He should have gotten longer.
Now, Miranda right there at the end, Miranda, she was 7 years old at the time. Brittany, she is now 20 years old. Both were young at the time. Both remember exactly what happened. They're both upset, saying, as you heard, that they had hoped that Carl Thompson would have gotten a longer sentence. Reporting live, Othello Richards, Prem 2 News.
Now, Spokane Police Chief Frank Straub is talking with one of our reporters right now. He did release part of a statement on Twitter just moments ago saying today's decision brings closure to a very difficult time in our city's history. We'll go live to our reporter with more on what he has to say as soon as he wraps up.
Mayor David Condon released a statement following the sentencing this afternoon, saying after more than 6.5 years, today's decision brings us closure on some level. Now's the time for healing. I appreciate Judge Van Sickle's thoughtful and purposeful work today and throughout the case. The sentencing decision was difficult, where we know there is no perfect amount of time, no perfect number. Any decision leads to pain for somebody in our community.
He also said, as a city and a police department, we know our challenge is to continue to move forward to a better future. Our focus remains on continuing to improve public trust and confidence in the Spokane Police Department and its officers. That work includes implementing the recommendations of the Use of Force Commission and achieving enhanced civilian oversight of police. We expect that our citizens will join us in these endeavors. And finally, to Ann Zem and the many family and friends of Mr. Otto Zem, I'm hopeful that this decision brings you peace. The U.S. Attorney's Office just held a news conference on the sentencing. Let's listen in to part of that.
The case proceeded to trial in October of 2011 with the jury on November 2nd of 2011 finding Carl F. Thompson guilty of violating Otto Zem's civil rights and also obstructing justice by basically lying at numerous points during the course of the FBI investigation. I would be remiss if, before we went on, I didn't make note of Otto Zem. And today, a portion, and probably not enough time, he was the victim of this unfortunate circumstance, but a portion of the hearing today was devoted to the kind of person that Otto Zem was, what his life meant to those around him who loved him, particularly his mom. And it's a tragedy that he left us all too soon. And this case, in part, was to bring justice to him and to his family. I also want to recognize that in the course of this process, and I think you saw it today with Judge Van Sickle, the hearing started at 9 o'clock this morning and it just completed about 5:20. The judge is very experienced. He spent a lot of time today, was very deliberate in analyzing and reviewing the information he received, and while his decision is below the guidelines that we recommended that the court sentence Mr. Thompson to, I would have to say that I think Judge Van Sickle was very thoughtful in his deliberations. And Mr. Thompson was represented by very able and capable lawyers. We certainly did battle with them for a number of years, but they're very professional lawyers, and they did a very good job. I do want to also thank our colleagues who worked with us from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Frank Carroll, who's the Special Supervisory Agent in charge.
You're listening to the U.S. Attorney there saying that justice has been served in the case considering Otto Zem and what happened to Officer Carl Thompson, who was sentenced to 4 years in federal prison and led away in handcuffs a short time ago. Our KREM 2 news crews were tweeting all day from the federal courthouse, bringing you the latest updates from inside the courtroom as things were going on. And remember, you can follow us at KREM 2 and on Facebook for breaking news updates at any time.
KREM 2's coverage of this story doesn't stop here. Make sure to head to KREM.com for all of our coverage today, as well as the history on the case. Then watch KREM 2 News tonight at 10 and 11.
Now, turning to the weather, we have Tom Sherry here with us now. Maybe one more dry day.
Yeah, it looks like that. Then things change and the clouds open up for the weekend. I'll tell you how long that's going to last. You see a little bit of cloud cover down to the south of us into the Palouse in southeastern Washington, but really no real cloud cover across our area. Gosh, wasn't that sunshine beautiful today? It's 37 in Post Falls, 30 in Thompson Falls. It's in Montana. Bonners Ferry, you're at 32. Colville checks in at 33. We'll look for increasing clouds, low clouds overnight, some patchy fog developing. Probably not as much sunshine tomorrow as what we saw today. So we've got that weather system headed our way. We'll call for mostly cloudy seasonal temperatures with a high of about 41 degrees. And again, tracking rain for the weekend. More precipitation expected next week. I'll tell you if that's going to be rain or snow with your 10-day forecast coming up in a few minutes.
Tom, thank you. The Zem family attorney Brianne Beggs is speaking with our reporters right now. Let's listen in.
Not all of them were the fault of the police, but they were in contact. And so the training needs to be changed and the recruiting needs to be changed. The profile of the officer needs to be someone that on the street can de-escalate conflict, recognize mental health and mental disability issues so that they respond appropriately. And Chief Straub has announced an initiative to partner up social workers with police officers in the field when dealing with the mentally ill. That's the type of program we're going to need in order to get where we want to be.
What would you say to the department's argument that this was an aberration and that there's not really a problem, it was just this case? And the argument they make is that there's not been a second similar situation.
There have been multiple similar situations. They didn't have the benefit of videotape, a Department of Justice investigation, and a trial to find out everything that happened. All you have to know about the department is the testimony of their training officer at trial that said Officer Thompson did everything correctly. And it's 5 years of the department saying it was all Otto's fault and the department did nothing wrong. The problem with that approach, although it's great to support your officers, is it means nothing will change. What Ann Zem wanted from this case from the beginning was to ensure that no other family would go through what she went through. The first step is to acknowledge what went wrong and how it needs to be fixed in the future. And until everyone at the department recognizes that, we won't be able to prevent it in the future.
Were you surprised how long it took?
I was surprised how long it took at the time. I am not surprised anymore. I learned a lot about it, but all along when I was at the Center for Justice and beyond, we always said we're playing for the hearts and minds of the entire community. And it's not enough to figure out what happened and to make the recommendations of what needs to change. You have to educate the entire community. And what Otto Zem's life and death meant is that CAN gets it, and they know, and even at the highest levels they know now. That kind of social change doesn't happen overnight, and it takes years. But the good news is, once the consciousness is raised to that, it'll stay in place, and that's why Spokane is on the road to change at this point. I have every confidence that it will. I have no doubts about it. So every day and week and month of those 6 years has been worth it to get where we need to go.
Brianne Beggs, a Zem family attorney, saying we've been a long way, 6 years since this incident happened at Zip Trip when Otto Zem was beaten and tasered and later died, with the conviction today, or the sentencing today, of Carl Thompson to 4 years in a federal prison.
More coverage when we come back.
And now, the KREM 2 News Storm Tracker 2 forecast with Tom Sherry.
And tonight I want to thank Avista Utilities. The wonderful people there raised $8,000. Then the Avista Foundation matched that for a total of $16,000. Big hugs, that's what I say. That provides 800, get that, 800 local families with a Thanksgiving meal.
And we think that this is a great event that you and KREM are involved in, the Salvation Army and Rose Hours, and so the Avista employees really are excited to step up and contribute their own money toward the Tom's Turkey Drive as well.
Who's the man? Jason's the man. Tom's Turkey Drive kicks off tomorrow morning at 5 o'clock, early tomorrow morning. You can stop by Area Rose Hours or donate online at creme.com via Numerica Credit Union. And also I want to let you know the Salvation Army was present today, and they presented Avista with its most prestigious award, the Making Spokane Better Award, for all their involvement in the in outreach into the community. A well-deserved award. And of course, as you saw there on the screen, $20 donation buys a complete Thanksgiving meal for a family in need. We hope you'll support us tomorrow and Saturday. Temperatures 42 was the high today after a morning low of 34. That glorious sunshine that showed up by mid-morning stuck around through the afternoon hours. That was nice. Yours truly did not mind being stuck in traffic with that sun coming into the car. 36 in Coeur d'Alene, 38 in Spokane, 40 in Moses Lake. Also mid-30s from Omak into Wenatchee. Othello, you're at 40 degrees. We'll look for mostly cloudy skies this evening with temperatures mostly in the 30s. Then overnight lows dropping down to freezing tonight. Could see some patchy fog again form in the overnight hours, especially in some wind-sheltered areas, and light wind. And then tomorrow we'll look for a daytime high of 41. Probably a little bit more cloud cover tomorrow than what we saw today, but still a comfortable November day to enjoy with a little bit of wind out of the east at 5 to 10 miles an hour. And enjoy Friday because it all starts to go downhill over the weekend, especially Saturday night into Sunday. That's the low pressure system right there that we're tracking. You get it. That's the low spinning around, the cold front that's associated with it. Look where it's headed, right towards the Pacific Northwest. That's what we think moves in Saturday, late Saturday and into Sunday. But for further dry daytime highs in the low to mid 40s. Look at the comfortable weather over in Portland and Seattle. My goodness, beautiful. 55 in Portland. Then we're into the 40s in the Tri-Cities. We'll see temperatures in the low 40s in the Panhandle. Again, across most of eastern Washington, we're in the 40s except Walla Walla and Lewiston. You've got 50 degrees pretty much in both locations there. 45 expected in Grangeville. So here we go. Turkey Drive starts tomorrow. We'll look for a daytime high of 41. We continue the Turkey Drive at Rose Hour stores into Saturday. Rain starts on Saturday, but good driving around and shopping weather. A lot of families out, shopping for their Thanksgiving dinner. We hope you'll swing by Rose Hours, but at least you've got good roads. Although wet, we'll look for rain showers through the Thanksgiving holiday, and then as we get more into that longer weekend, we could even see some snow showers developing over Saturday and Sunday as temperatures get closer to freezing.
Boy, I'll tell you what, we need 10 more checks like Avista.
Gosh.
Yes.
And we're done.
And isn't it awesome that that came from the employees and then
the company.
And the company matched
What a
it.
great thing. What a
Yeah,
great thing.
thank you, Randy.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
You're watching Creme 2 News at 6.
I want to continue our coverage now of the sentencing of Carl Thompson, who got 4 years in a federal prison this afternoon.
Honora Swanson just got out of a press conference with Spokane's new police chief, Frank Straub. She joins us on the phone with his reaction. Honora, what did he have to say?
Well, Dan, Randy, as you said, we just stepped outside of that after talking to the chief. There are a few things. He said this has been a tragic incident for the entire community and the families involved. He says it's something no community or department should ever have to go through. He does say, though, that the ruling brings closure tonight. He says the Spokane Police Department has learned a great deal from this. He says he's committed to moving forward after the incident, and he wants to continue to improve the department. In terms of the sentence tonight that Judge Van Sickle handed down, he says he and the department must respect what that federal judge says. He says in regard to the future in the department that he needs to learn, the department as a whole needs to learn how to heal, and that this whole experience has been incredibly hard. Now, we'll have more on our conversation with Chief Straub tonight at 10 and 11. Reporting live, Honora Swanson, Creme 2 News.
Viewers, not only Spokane, but all over the region are reacting right now to Thompson's sentencing on our Facebook page.
People have a lot of opinions about this. Creme 2's Cole Heath is watching our social media sites and brings us your reactions. Cole?
Randy Jane, since we first broke this story, this huge announcement on Facebook and Twitter, likes, comments have been flooding in. Just looking at Facebook alone so far, 263 comments, 58 likes. For the most part, the reaction has been too lenient, that Officer Thompson should have gotten a max sentence. Some people saying that they're sickened by this, but the word that keeps reoccurring on comments and different opinions being shared on the Facebook page is lenient. That has been the word so far, just looking through the hundreds of the comments so far. Twitter as well, that has been the norm that we're seeing. Again, people saying that it was too lenient, it was not enough done, and that there was even hints of special treatment in some people's opinion towards Officer Thompson. Randy, Jane, back to you.
Thank you, Cole. We are tracking another breaking news story tonight. Officials evacuated several county courthouses this afternoon across Washington state. That is because of bomb threats. So far, threats have been reported at the courthouses in Adams, Benton, Chelan, Clark, Douglas, and Thurston counties. Deputies have not found anything suspicious at those courthouses.
Never heard of anything like that happening in the region ever before. Coming up now in our next 30 minutes, a year after his conviction on the death of Otto Zem, Carl Thompson is headed to prison. He was led away tonight in cuffs.
And I'm tracking lots of wet weather headed our way. I'll tell you if that means rain or snow. Your 10-day forecast coming up in this half hour.